Welcome to the Quick Talk Podcast with Joshua Latimer, where we discuss business, life, family, faith, struggle, fire, pain, and ultimately winning.
It's time to take massive action. Look, I can't work harder on your life or business than you do. It's ultimately all on you.
You know, God created all the food the birds would ever need, but he doesn't put it in their nest. You've got to go get it.
10 out of 10 people die. So how about doing something today that actually matters while you still can? What up, guys? Welcome to the Quick Talk Podcast. That was kind of a different little change of pace, right? Normally I say, hey, everybody, welcome to the Quick Talk Podcast. Josh here. How the heck are you? Right? Maybe I just say, what up, suckers? Welcome to the Quick Talk Podcast. Grab your coffee or your I don't know. I'm not a tea drinker. I was trying to think of the name of a tea. Hey, listen, I want to have just kind of a chill conversation with you here. And I want to start off by saying thank you. Our listenership is growing, and it's because of you guys. You know, I'm trying to deliver daily, consistent value to you. I'm working really, really hard on that. The feedback's been just amazing. So I know you guys are loving it. I promise to keep things fresh and unique and just keep pushing the bar higher on what I bring to the table through this podcast, you know, because that is the key, right? Gary Vaynerchuk talks about, you know, jab, jab, right hook. And that's my philosophy. Like, before I ever heard that, you know, it's just give value, more value, more. And the natural byproduct of giving value, and this applies to you and your business, it applies to me in this podcast, is that you're going to have, you know, success. You're going to have either more customers or more revenue or more whatever. The natural byproduct of you providing value to the world is value that's going to reciprocate back to you. You don't have to measure it. You don't have to put a time frame on it. You just keep giving value. That's why I committed this year to doing a podcast every single day. I just remember in the early days of my service company, how hard it was for me to see the forest through the trees. You know, it's really difficult to see the big picture and to really believe that you're going to build something significant when you haven't done it yet. Like, I have massive compassion for you guys that are going through that. And I know that you'll have these bursts of belief. You know, you'll get motivated. You'll listen to a podcast like this or watch a inspirational video or something, or sometimes you just feel confident. You wake up on a Wednesday and you're confident, and those are good days. But it's not always like that, because when you don't have the life experience of actually doing what it is that you're setting out to do yet, when you haven't actually done it, it's not real to you yet. Like, in your subconscious mind, it's not real. So anyway, I just want to encourage you that you are on the right path. And if you know, done is better than perfect, right? So don't get paralyzed by not having a perfect vision of the next steps. Just keep making progress, incremental progress. This stuff takes time. And I was talking to Derek. He's up from Arkansas. He's our COO at sendgym.com. And I was eating lunch with him, and I said, you know, I work really hard. And he knows, because he works with me, and he has for several years now. And he works really hard. And most of my friends work really, really, really hard. And for me, it's normal. What happens is that how do we measure how hard we're working against, like, another person? Or should you even do that? Let me rephrase this. I had a coaching call with someone in my Automate, Grow, Sell bootcamp. And this is actually a while back, so don't think it's you if I'm like picking on you, whoever it was I was talking to, because I don't even remember exactly who it was. But they had a small company doing like $100K a year, and they had an employee, and they're really frustrated that they're small and they're stuck. And I'm trying to like just get the basic data to start the call. Like, okay, what are we doing? What services you offer? What's your market? You know, tell me about this, tell me about that. How much revenue did you do? Do you understand your margins yet? Oh no, you don't? Okay, that's cool. Not a problem, you know. And I'm breaking down like the basic data, and long story short, what we came to the conclusion of is that this person was working about 26 hours a week in the business, and he wanted more money. He had this vision of this massive company, and I asked him straight up, I'm like, what are you doing? Like, why are you working 26 hours? Well, I don't have any more work. It's like I don't know how there's a disconnect like that in people's brain. Like 40 hours a week, when you're trying to build something serious, like the stuff that I talk about in this podcast, that's a part-time job. That 40 hours a week is like a side hustle. You have to work really hard for a significant amount of time to do the things that the guests on the show have done, things that I've done, the things that I'm doing right now. I'm podcasting every day. I have 5 kids. I just built out a new office. My new vlog's coming out here in a day or two, so look out for that. And I can show you behind the scenes of my new office and the podcast studio that I built. The point is that I'm not like bragging for working hard. I'm just kind of wired to go hard. I have no problem for a season, for a short time, for a little while, sacrificing parts of my life in an effort to build something significant that can benefit me for the rest of my life. I'm assuming that the listeners feel the same way, and I do believe like in the idea that, well, let me rephrase this. Family has to come first. God comes first for me. My relationship with Christ comes first. I'm a Christian. And my family comes second, and business is third. And that's what we all say, right? But the reality is like I do these special days with my kids. I do Sawyer Sunday, Maverick Monday, Tucker Tuesday, Finley Friday. And anyway, I haven't been doing them. I haven't been able to do them the last few weeks. So what does that mean? Well, the idea of balance to me is a myth. Not that it's like bad to fantasize about balance, but you can't have balance because of this. If you can have balance if you want to be mediocre. Let me say that. If you want to be the best rock star husband on the planet, that's a thing. That takes focused, extreme effort for a significant period of time. If you want to be the most fit person on the planet, these guys that are super in shape and they spend hours at the gym, that's a sacrifice. It's a commitment. You got to go deep on it. You have to eat perfectly clean. You have to plan your meals out. You have to put in the work. If you want to have a $2 million business that's automated with like a great culture that kicks you off, $400,000 a year in personal income, and you just drink coffee, like you can have that. But what's required to have that is a lot more than I think most people think. It takes a lot of intense, focused work, deep work for a significant period of time to have that. So Dave Ramsey says it best. He says, if you'll live like no one else right now, then someday you can live like no one else. And so I have no interest in like sacrificing my family on the altar of my business. That's not my heart. That's not my intention. I want nothing to do with that. If there's any like serious repercussions that were going to come at home because of my business, I would immediately stop podcasting every day. But while I'm in the fire, while I'm trying to 10x my company and get to 10 million, right? While I'm doing that, by the way, I have total agreement and support of my entire family, including my children, because we talk about this on a regular basis, and we agree as a family, yes, the outcome of what this will produce for us is going to be worth the short-term sacrifice, and it's hard, and sometimes I'll take a break and we'll talk about it again, or I'll have to, disrupt my business plans to deal with family stuff, but in the midst of that growth, it's a mess and it's hard. And the idea of balance can't work because what I have to do is I have to borrow bandwidth from certain areas of my life and plow that and invest it into the business, right? If I only have to do that for a little while, I don't have to do it forever, right? I mean, we're building a machine, we're building a system. I think that's what you're trying to do. And that's exactly what I did with my cleaning business. I would tell my wife for years, I'm like, just hold on. Like once we started getting traction and I got more educated and understood the path and what I was supposed to be doing, I got better and more bold in going even harder, working even more. But it wasn't because I was trying to be addicted to work or to hide. It's because I had a very clear outcome that I was pursuing, a very clear destination. Lots of people have had way bigger businesses than me, probably in the service company for sure. But my vision was a profitable, large, and completely automated service company. We did pressure cleaning, window cleaning, right? That was my obsession. I could see it. It was like three-dimensional in my brain, and I built it. And it was really hard, and I worked really intensely for a season, like a season of life. That's what that means, metaphorical. But then guess what happened? I didn't have to do anything. Like I would go to the office, and nobody had a job for me. I was listening to a podcast with Jeff Hoffman, who I think it was Jeff Hoffman. He's a billionaire, founder of Priceline.com and a whole bunch of other huge companies, ultra successful guy, really, really neat too. You should listen to him. He was talking about how like the ultimate goal is when you walk in and like you go to like your department head and you're like, hey, Jerry, how's it going? What can I do? You want me to coach you on some stuff? What's going on? Any issues? And Jerry's like, no, Jeff, actually, I got a meeting right now. I'm doing some things. We're making an acquisition. We're doing whatever they're doing. Like they're doing stuff and they don't need you anymore. That's what you want, right? That takes a ton of work on the front end for that to manifest and be real on the back end. I take it for granted because I work really hard and intense by default. I live my life at 215 miles an hour when I'm doing stuff. And that's kind of who I surround myself with, right? I'm a fighter jet. Oh, I should totally tell you the fighter jet analogy. But what happens is a lot of those people that listen to this podcast think that they're working hard. You think you're giving maximum effort. You think you're really, really going down the path to have what you want. And maybe you are. But if you don't have a level of intensity that is unlike almost anybody else that you probably know, it's going to take you like 36 years to get there. I don't want that. I want to work like a maniacal freak for 2 years and then have a benefit for decades or change my family tree forever, change the entire legacy of my life because of really intentional, focused effort. Here's the fighter jet analogy, by the way. And then I'm going to read some of your iTunes reviews because they're amazing. They make my day. Every time I get them, I'm like, oh my gosh, like our little tribe is so cool. Like you guys are awesome. But here's the fighter jet analogy. I forget where I hear it, so I can't give credit. I always like to give credit if I'm like borrowing someone else's analogy. But most entrepreneurs are fighter jets. I am a fighter jet. And what's really weird about a fighter jet is that, you know, it's an airplane that flies, but if it's not going outrageously fast, it's basically a paperweight and it will fall out of the sky like a rock. Fighter jets have to go really fast, right? But let's compare a fighter jet to a small airplane, like maybe a fertilization airplane that goes real slow over fields, a crop duster, right? So crop duster airplanes are less expensive, they're less sophisticated, and they go really slow. In fact, they're designed to go slow. They're supposed to go slow. Fighter jets, though, can't fly with crop dusters because what happens is the crop dusters are not even capable of getting enough speed to even hang out with the fighter jet. Not that the fighter jet's better than the crop duster, because that's not what I'm saying at all. Crop dusters are like super freaking important. They produce all the food that people eat. Like its utility use is massively valuable. They're just different. And so when you have a team of employees around you, a lot of times they might be like the slow, low type of plane, like a crop duster. I hate that I'm saying crop duster like 700 times. It's really funny. Anyway, so the crop dusters, they can't go fast. Not because they're bad, not because they're dumb. They can't. They're not designed to. But a fighter jet has to go fast. And here's the risk. If you go into business with someone, if you get in a business partnership, or you start aligning yourself with certain people that are not fighter jets and you are, you're not going to hurt them. Okay? You're not going to hurt them. They're going to kill you because you're going to fall out of the sky. The only option for the fighter jet to hang out with the crop dusters is for the fighter jet to slow down, to pull back on the throttle. And guess what happens? You're going to fall out of the sky like a rock and smash in the ground, burst into flames, and all your hopes and dreams will be gone. Maybe that's a little dramatic. Align yourself with the right people. And, make sure you're in the right community. And it's easier to hold yourself accountable and to kind of gauge how hard you're working and if it's appropriate if you're hanging out with fighter jets. I guess that's kind of maybe my main point for today. You got to make sure that the right people are speaking into your life. And when you have a business, it's all too common. You got family, cousins, grandmas, neighbors, friends that are non-entrepreneurial that really don't get it. And they say things like, well, geez, you're just going to kill yourself. Why are you working so much? Is that really necessary? Why in the world are you doing that? You really need to be home more. They don't know what they're saying, okay? I'm not telling you to be a workaholic and to sacrifice your family. That is the dumbest thing you could ever do in the world. All this stuff's going to burn someday anyway, right? You can't take your business with you, only your legacy and relationships. But being an entrepreneur is a thing that's hard-coded into certain people. You were designed on purpose to be this fighter jet person. You're not broken, okay? Don't listen to people when they say stupid stuff like that to you. They still love you. They're not meaning to say stupid stuff, but they have absolutely no idea what they're talking about. Entrepreneurs, people like you that constantly learn and are going deeper in their education and are even interested in podcasts like this, you guys are the people that change the world. You're the people that do the stuff, that invent all of the stuff, that generate all of the revenue, that create all of the jobs, that creates the entire economy and makes it work. It can't function with only crop dusters. It can't. It's impossible. We're builders and we're weird, right? And we thrive on momentum. And so if your business is stuck, if you feel like you're wandering around, knock it off. Change your circle of influence. Get around people who intimidate you, frankly, and try to mirror them and start comparing your level of effort and focus to theirs. But don't compare it to the crop duster. I hope that's helpful. Let me read some iTunes reviews for you guys. This is super cool. So these guys are great. If I can be 1/100th as successful as they are, I'll be killing it. And they tell you how. That's awesome. Winker707 Thunder Spray says, so much value. About to finish my second time through the collection. You are a blessing, Joshua, from your Canadian brother. Thank you, Thunder Spray. Thank you, brother. I love my Canadian friends, or as I call them, Canadian friends. That's just a joke. Downtown Ari Brown, extremely good content always. Own a sales or service related business or have plans to start a business. These podcasts are the sure thing to get your mind thinking in the up direction for the day. Good solid principles and practices from Josh. Thank you so much, Mr. Brown. You are such a blessing to us, and thank you so much. We got Sing Wings. Great motivator and content, family friendly. Well, I try, except when I do an episode talking about crop dusting all day. That's kind of weird. And then we got John Garvey. I've listened to Josh for about 15 months and took my window cleaning business from a one-man show with no direction to now having tripled my sales with 2 employees. It's been great. I can't wait to be able to meet him someday when he has his own high-level mastermind group. Thank you so much, Josh. Thank you, John. Way to execute. Way to execute, man. That's amazing. That's amazing. Let's do one more. Emerald Coast, Josh every day brings top-notch content to his podcast. Turn off your radio station and tune onto this podcast if you want to take your business to the next level. Guys, thank you so much. And there's so many more. I don't want to read all of them. It'll take forever and you'll get bored. But to me, this is huge. This is like the fuel in my gas tank. I have 119 iTunes 5-star reviews, which is just really, really cool because it's hard to get reviews, right? There's a lot of really good podcasts that don't have that many. But then there's big ones that have like 4,000 reviews, right? I want to scale the reach of this. How can you help me do that? Give me a 5-star review, but there's one more thing you can do. And I'm going to give you a quick tip on how, I'm just going to clearly communicate, if you have time, how you can help me the most. I'm thinking about assembling what I'm calling like a street team. I'm talking people who are power listeners who want to get maybe some sort of special benefit or access to me or something. Like I'm going to offer something. And what I'm looking for people to do is to consistently and correctly, I'll show you what correctly means, post links to different episodes that move them that are super powerful in Facebook groups, in LinkedIn groups, all over the place, all different service industries, like consistently. It's hard for me because I don't want to go post my own link in all these groups and spam people. But when you guys do it, it's authentic, right? But there's a right way to do it and a wrong way to do it. What you don't do is you don't just say, this podcast is awesome, and then put a link. And then it has that big picture, like that image, that clickable image that will show up on Facebook. Those get way less clicks because it just looks like another shared spammy thing. Instead, what you want to do is write like a paragraph of text that just says, that references what's talked about in the podcast and tie it into your own story, and then, format it and space it out so it's not one big blob that's hard to read. And then, 5 or 10 sentences of, this is what I learned, and, she talks about a fighter jet, and I know as an entrepreneur, I'm this and that, and whatever, right? And then at the bottom, post your link to the podcast, but click the X mark on like the image, the thumbnail. Don't show that part. Just make it look like a text post with a link at the bottom. Those get a ton of clicks. And it's working. You guys are so helpful to me. Thank you so much. Take care. God bless. I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Hey, thanks for hanging out, friends. And from all of us here at the Quick Talk Podcast team, we hope you loved today's show. We hope that you were inspired to become a doer and not just a listener. Apply what you've heard today in your own business and watch things change for the better. Lastly, remember that all the money in the world can't save your soul. Seek first the kingdom of God, my friends. We'll see you next time.
For more information about the Quick Talk Podcast or Joshua's other businesses, visit our website, quicktalkpodcast.com. Have a blessed day.